Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast as part of a Cortex Narrate series, an audio podcast as part of a Cyclone Cascade, an audio podcast as part of a Coachella Blitz, and an audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production. So continuing on from looking at CKD epidemiology. And now looking into the sort of crux around this works and terminology issues in around CKD or chronic kidney disease. So it is important to appreciate that there are different definitions in the literature and within and throughout in the literature and in publications for what separates acute from chronic disease, in addition to what separates chronic disease and chronic illnesses. In relation to CKD terminology, this can cause confusion and in classification and also identification. Chronic kidney disease or CKD is often silent or referred to as a silent condition, and an increasing issue in different populations, causing immense human morbidity and mortality. An online calculator is available to check creatinine level, creatinine being a biomarker to determine renal function or kidney function, and estimated glomerular filtration rate can assess renal function to confirm an initial diagnosis. Despite variations, however, in terminology and guidelines, amongst guidelines and frameworks, um, there is a sort of a division, in around a sort of classification with a fixed renal with fixed renal impairment grading of, so for example, or i.e. mild, moderate, and severe, and also where historically there's been a sense of an endorsement, and sense of endorsement linked to particular severities and classifications, severity of disease and classification or staging of disease are often prompted from a sort of a top down approach, where physician or frontline health professionals utilize different classifications against severity, in aligned to coding and endorsing against particular frameworks and guidelines. So researchers or investigators recognize at the same time CKD by the prevalence of CKD stages 1 through 5, including stage 3, including CKD stage 3 separated into stage 3A and 3B, and where stage 3A is often categorized as an estimated glomerular filtration rate of 54 in around 54 to 59 mil per min, and stage 3B, 3B being as an EGFR between 30 and 44 mil per min. The issue here then, and the issue or part of the contention at least, is that the terminology becomes confusing, and there is an overlap or too much overlap for each CKD stage, and this issue is not new, and there needs to be a more systematic review addressing the issue to provide transparency and justification CKD stages between CKD stages. That draws this audio podcast to a close. This has been an audio podcast as part of the Cortex Narrate series, an audio podcast as part of the Cyclone Cascade, an audio podcast as part of a Coachella Blitz, and an audio podcast as part of a Storm Robotics production.